to A Sprinkle of Myra. Thanks for tuning in to my video today. I want to talk about wedding venues and Facebook groups. As a bride-to-be, I joined a ton of bridal Facebook groups because I needed help to get an idea of what the hell I just got myself into. I found 4 groups that I completely fell in love with for many reasons. I'm going to list those for you guys. The first group is North Texas Bridal Network. This group is amazing. From the brides to be, the previous brides, the vendors, the admins, the moderators, they're the bomb.com. I love them because they keep this group super organized. You don't see hijacking of threads by vendors. You don't see brides bashing each other. You don't see vendors bashing each other. It's very clean, organized, and super helpful. If you're a bride in the Dallas-Fort Worth area like myself, then I highly suggest joining this group. There is so many resources in this group, from photographers, videographers, bakers, DJs, florists. There's a little bit of everybody in there. It's very structured to where you tell them, I'm looking for this kind of vendor, this is my budget, this is the date, and this is the location. You give them those 4 things, and if someone's over your budget, they're not gonna comment. Group number 2 is North Texas Budget Bridal Network. This group is a sister group for North Texas Bridal Network, except it's for brides on a budget like moi. And here you'll find vendors that are lower in price compared to some of the vendors in the North Texas Bridal Network page. So it's the same structure. I believe it has the same admins and moderators. I'm not sure, but I believe they are. The third group is The Real Wedding Sisterhood. This is a fairly new group, but I love it because it's all brides. There's no vendors in there. And it was made for brides to be able just to communicate amongst themselves without the constant worry of vendors just bombarding you. And the 4th group is Springs Brides and Wedding Pros. This group is hands down one of the best groups I have ever seen for brides. And I love this group. I love the people that are in that group. And you'll see a lot of vendors in this group that are not just in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, because they have venues in Oklahoma as well as Texas, but they're also building a venue in Georgia. One of the main reasons I love this group is because they have a section dedicated to like informational documentation. They have playlists for your ceremonies, timelines, they have seating charts for you. They have such good information. One of their marketing employees is amazing. Riley is the bomb. She is on top of helping brides, and if you need inspirational pictures for the ceremony, she'll say, hey, I have some pictures that are like that, here you go. It's like a little family, but there's just a lot of support in that group. So as I mentioned, I booked my venue with the Springs. I absolutely fell in love with the Springs because their page, their pictures were just so beautiful. These venues were so amazing. I actually toured 3 of their venues because I didn't know which one to pick. So how I picked my venue was, I didn't have a budget. I didn't know what my budget was. I didn't know what kind of look I was going for. I just wanted to get an idea. So I just booked tours with venues, and I toured a couple of venues that I really liked. But when I went to the Springs, I just loved it. It was just beautiful. It was so gorgeous. And what put the cherry on top was their employees. The employees there are not pushy. They're not just trying to rush through the tour. They actually care. They'll explain to you, this is what this is where you get ready, this is where the bar would be, this is where the caterer usually sets up. And then it's like, feel free, go take a look, let me know when you have questions. And something that I actually did like is I went to tour one of the venues in Weatherford, and there was a wedding party there. They were getting ready. So you can kind of see like what the vibe is as, you know, people are getting ready to celebrate their big day. And so it was really cool for me. So tip number 1 for venues is, if you don't know what your budget is or what your style is go online. I literally Googled what wedding venues, and then I put whatever area I was looking in, and then I wrote down these names, and I went to their pages and I said, can I envision myself getting married there? Yes or no? And my no's, I just crossed them out. And when I saw yeses, I said, okay, I need to tour these places. So I went and I scheduled tours for those places. Tip number 2 for when you're looking for your venues is think about, do you want to bring in outside catering, or would you prefer for a venue to have an all-inclusive deal where you cannot bring outside caterers? Me personally, I did not want to be tied down to just whatever they say they want. I want to be able to choose what I want to choose. So definitely take that into consideration. If you have a cake person that you really like, then keep in mind, you know, they might not allow it. Tip number 3 is budget. Think about your budget. Your reception, your venue is going to take up a lot of your budget just because that's where you're going to have your entire wedding. So one thing that I suggest is look for a venue where you have a reception site and a ceremony site if you're not getting married in a church, because then you don't have to pay an extra fee to drive somewhere else to get married. Tip number 5, don't be closed-minded. I was dead set on having an indoor ceremony until I went to go see the venue I booked. And I loved the outdoor ceremony area. And I was like, yeah, there's no question about it. I'm getting married outside. I just loved the way the outdoor looked. It was so beautiful. And I could picture myself walking down the aisle with my dad and then meeting my fiance at the altar. And I was like, yep, this is it. And that's when I knew, like, this is definitely the venue I'm gonna go for. Tip number 6, when you go tour venues, always keep in mind, when do you want to get married? If you don't have an actual date set, which I didn't, think about like the time frame, the weather. If you want an outdoor ceremony, you obviously don't want it to be super cold or super hot. So have that date range in your mind. If you're dead set on a specific date, make sure that you let the venue know before you go tour, because you don't want to waste your time touring a venue that's not available for you. Tip number 7 is guest list. You have to have your guest list at least 80% figured out before you go look at venues. If your guest list has 300 people and you go to a venue that can only hold 224 people, you're gonna have to cut your guest list. So always keep that in mind, is think about your guest list before you go look at a venue, because that will determine whether you can have your wedding there or not. Tip number 8. Tip number 8 is look up reviews. I looked up reviews for the venues that I toured first. So I looked on Yelp, I looked on Wedding Wire, I looked on The Knot, and then I looked in these Facebook groups to see, you know, what are people saying about these venues. If you see a bad review, don't hesitate to ask the venue about it. I read a bad review on a venue that I toured up, and I asked the manager, I said, hey, I read this review and I just wanted to know, you know, what's going on, is this a common thing? And they explained it to me, and all was well. So you always want to make sure that if you see a bad review, that they have a plan to make sure that that doesn't happen again. Tip number 9 is location. And so if you're not getting married at a venue like a hotel where you can sleep at the venue, then you have to think about the surrounding area. Is there a hotel you can get ready at, or are you gonna get ready at your own house, and how far is that? Think about stuff like that whenever you book your venue, because you want to plan for all your decor to get transferred there, your caterer getting there, anything that you have to bring to the venue. You want to think about how much of a distance is it going to be to drive there, and then you want to make sure that you have something nearby where any out-of-town guests can stay. And tip number 10 is, this is y'all's wedding. Who cares what other people think? If you and your hubby love the venue, book the venue. Who cares if people say it's too far? They don't have to come. Who cares if they don't like the day you booked it for? They don't have to come. So always, always, always remember that this is y'all's day, and if you guys love it, just book it. So these were my 10 tips for you guys when it comes to wedding venues. I hope you guys found this video very helpful. I'm going to do a Q&A next. The first one is from Crystal in Fort Worth, and she wants to know, do I have a wedding planner and would I recommend someone? I don't have a wedding planner or day of coordinator, but I did meet with some. I met with the owner of GlitterAndGlueWeddings and Events. I loved her. She gave me so much good information. Her packet that she gave me had a lot of information that I hadn't even considered, I didn't think about. I also recommend for you to talk to the owner of BigDayCoordination. She is amazing. She's in one of the bridal groups, and she's always helping people. And one really cool thing is that she has a blog. So I would definitely check out her website. I highly recommend for you to check both of them out. I'll post their website links in my description. The second question is coming from Olivia in Rockwall. She's asking, what kind of things do you recommend for a bridal party of strangers? So I'm assuming your bridal party doesn't really know each other. It's funny, I was actually just in a wedding where I didn't know any of the bridal party, but ultimately everybody pretty much clicked. I would definitely suggest like some kind of events, getting together at your house, maybe for drinks and putting together centerpieces, or just jotting down ideas, going to tour the venue, different stuff like that. So Lisa and Addison is asking, how did I find my videographer? I found my photographer and videographer on the North Texas Bridal Network page. I booked WU Photography and WashingtonFilmz, and they actually do destination weddings, and I am so jealous of the brides because they all look so beautiful. So I will post their website link in my description as well. So that concludes my video. I hope you guys found this video helpful. Some upcoming videos will be a video featuring my wonderful fiance. We will be making a wedding vision board, so be on the lookout for that. I'm also going to tour my wedding venue with my bridal party, so definitely stay tuned. Bye!